So I'm recording the session, so the others will join us later. They will also be able to watch what we are doing. Now, the objective of our today's lesson, and today we are going to just concentrate on one method of amortizing bond discount and bond premiums. Remember, in our last lesson, we looked at a bond discount and the premium. So the objective of our today's lesson is to apply the straight line method of bond discount and premium amortization. Now, when it comes to bonds, amortization is simply an adjustment that is used to account for the difference between the bond's stated interest rate and the amount for which the company actually sold it. So amortization is an adjustment that is used to account for the difference between the bond's stated interest rate and the amount for which the company actually sold it. Now, if we look at the amortized cost of bonds, we look at the amortized cost of bonds. Now, because of the interest rate fluctuation, the interest that a company expects to pay on a bond, what we normally refer to as the face value, what we refer to as the face value. The face value. So it is sometimes higher or lower than the interest that the company actually pays to investors. Now, when we look at the bond discount, this arises when the investors pay less than the face value of the bond. And it represents a higher interest rate than that for which the bond was issued. Now, in case of the bond premiums arises when investors pay more for the bond, representing a lower rate than that for which the bond was issued. Now, in the case of the discounted bonds, the difference between the face value and the interest rate being paid out to investors is an additional expense to the company. Remember, we have said that under the bond discounts, the investors will pay less than the face value of the bond, and therefore there will be a higher interest rate than that for which the bond was issued. So we are saying that in the case of the discounted bonds, the difference between the face value and the interest rate being paid out to investors will be an additional expense to the company, and as such, this is what we call an amortized cost. Is what we call an amortized cost. Need to get the spelling of amortization correctly. That is what we refer to as amortized cost. Remember, we have said amortization is just adjusting the cost of the bonds. Now, if we go straight away to the straight line a bond amortization. It is a method of amortizing the bonds. Now, for the straight line method, it is the easiest way to calculate an amortized cost. It is the easiest way to calculate the amortized cost. Now, if a company issues financial statements only once a year, then the amortization cost can be recorded annually or semi-annually, depending on how the bond's anniversary month aligns with the company's year end. Now, if the company issues monthly statements, then the bond's amortization cost should also be calculated on a monthly basis. We will also be expected to have the journal entry for amortizing a bond's discount cost on the balance sheet, and that is usually listed as an interest expense. The straight line method will use the same amount of bond discount during each reporting period using the following formula. So we have a formula. Maybe I can just note it there. So amortization will be equal to this is equal to bond issue price minus the face value then we divide that difference there in the bond issue price and the face value by the bond term. That is the formula that we use for the straight line method. So the bond term is the period of time that the bond will take to mature. So to get the amortization, we subtract the face value of the bond from the bond issue price, and then we divide the difference by the bond term. So we have an illustration one that maybe I can post there. Illustration one. So on the public chat, maybe please check the public chat there. I've posted it. So we are told that company XYZ, I hope you can see it there. Company XYZ intended to issue a bond with a face value of 100,000 shillings, having a maturity of 5 years. So in our case here, the bond term is 5 years and an annual coupon of 8%. Now the interest on the bond is known as the coupon rate. At the time of issue, however, the market interest rate rose to 10%, and the bond could fetch a price of 92,420 only. So it could be, if you look at the face value and the issue price, there is a difference there. So we are told to prepare the journal entry to represent the transaction. Prepare the journal entry to represent the transaction. Now, to solve this, we need to, first of all, get the difference between the face value of the bond and the issue price, or the proceed from the bond. Now, to get that difference, let me go to the next slide. So remember, the face value of the bond is 100,000. Face value is 100,000. And then the bond issue price is 92,420. Issue price is. So we need to first of all get the difference. So please, can you get the difference between these two? What will that difference be? Subtract 92,420 from 100,000. Yes, Prudence, Mithika. What will be the difference? Eli Barawa. What is the difference? Okay, so the difference there, thank you, Eli. The difference is 7580, 7,580. So that is the difference there. So this difference here, the 7580, represent the discount on the bond. This represents discount on the bond. Present the discount. It is a discount because the face value is higher than the issue price of the bond. So the investor has paid less amount than the correct value of the bond. So I think that is clear. Now, since this bond has a life of 5 years, the annual amortization of bond discount will now be equal to, now we divide now. Remember, the discount is 7580. So we need to get the annual amortization of bond discount. So what we will do is that now we'll take the 7,580 divided by 5. So what will that give us? Silas, what will that give us? 7580 divided by 5. So that will give us, thank you, Silas, 1,506. 1,516. So that will be the annual amortization of bond discount. It will be equal to 1,516. So we have obtained that by dividing 7580, which is the bond discount from the entire useful life of the bond, which is 5 years, So to get the annual, we just divide the 7580 by 5, and that will give us the annual discount. Now, at the end of the first year, if the interest that is payable, so we can go back to our problem there. Remember that the annual coupon is 8%, so we can get the interest per year. You get the 8% of 100,000, so that we get the interest payable. So interest will be 8%. That is what we expect to be paid. So 8 over 100 times the face value of the bond, which is 100,000. So what will that be? So 100K. 8% of 100,000. Okay, thank you, Prudence and Silas. That will be 8,000. So that is the interest that is payable. So if the interest payable is 8,000 and we have calculated that, then company XYZ would record its interest expense using the following journal entry. So one, we will debit the interest expense. We will debit the interest expense by the amount that we'll use will be the interest plus now the bond discount. So we debit interest expense. So if you add 8,000 to 1516, that will be 96. Sorry, not 96, but 9516. So that is the first entry that we'll make. Then we credit interest payable. Credit interest payable, which we have determined as 8,000. 8,000. And we also credit the bond discount. That is the entry that we are expected to make. Bond discount was 1,516, and we obtained that. We obtained that. So any question in that journal entry? Any question in that journal entry? We are still in illustration 1, and I want us to move slowly so that we have to understand now the concepts of the bond amortization using the straight line method. So if there is no question, then I think we can move on. Now, under the straight line method, the periodic interest expense and interest payable together with the amortization of bond discount does not vary over the periods. So it will be the same. So for first year, we'll make the same entry, second year, third year, until the maturity period of the bond. I want us to look at an illustration 2 illustration 2, which we are going to have there. So on the public chat, so please can you look at it? Can you read it? Okay, so we are told that suppose a business issued 8% 2-year bonds payable with a par value of 120,000 and the semi-annual payments in return for cash of 122,204, representing a market rate of 7%. Prepare the bond amortization schedule using the straight line method. Now, the par value is the same as the face value. It is the same as the face value. So the face value of this bond is 120, but the issue price is 122. So maybe to ask from the members, is this bond issued at a discount or at a premium? Maybe before we start, I can ask from the members. So is it issued at a discount or at a premium? So Silas, thank you. It is issued at a premium because remember we said if the bond issue price is more than the face value, then it means that the bond will be issued at a premium. So we are told to prepare the bond amortization schedule using the straight line method. Okay, so we can look at that. So first of all, we have to determine the premium on the bond payable. So the premium on the bond payable. So that will be given by, we subtract 120,000 from 122. So the premium will be given by, we take 122, 204 minus 120,000. So the difference there is 1,000, I think 2,204. That is the premium. 2,204. Thank you. Now, once we have determined the premium on the bond, we can now decide to prepare the journal entry for the bonds payables issued at a premium. So we can prepare the journal entry now. So for the journal entry, we'll have now the account. The first column will be having the account. Then we have debit, credit, debit and the credit. So the first account there should be cash. Cash, because we receiving the amount now we debit. Remember, cash is an asset and it has a debit normal balance. Any increase should be debited. 122,204. Debit that. Then we have the next one is bonds payable. Bonds payable, face value. We credit 120. 120,000. Then the next account is the premium on bonds payable. Premium on bonds payable. Premium on bonds payable. Again, we credit. We have already determined the premium as 2,204. 204. Get that, then now these accounts are balancing. Cash on the debit side 122,204. Then on the credit side 120 plus 2204. That will be 122,204. So that is the journal entry to represent the bonds payable that is issued at a premium. Now, the premium on the bonds payable account has a credit balance of 2204, which needs to be amortized to the interest expense account over the lifetime of the bond. Remember, the lifetime of our bond is 2 years. And because the payment period, the payment is done on a semi-annual basis, it means that the payment will be made 2 times a year, the interest payment. So therefore, for the useful life of this bond, we'll have 4 payment periods. Now, using the straight line bond amortization method, the premium is simply amortized at the rate of 2,204. Then we divide that by the payment periods, which is 4, for each of the 6-month period. So maybe we can show that. So now, if you divide this, then I think 4 there, 1. So that will be 551 for each of 6 months. So for every 6 months, we'll be making an interest payment of 551. Now, the actual semi-annual cash interest payments on the bond are based on the face value of the bond. Remember, the face value of our bond is 120,000 shillings. The bond discount rate is 8%. Bond discount rate is 8%. And every 6 months, therefore, we expect that there is an amount that will be paid in cash to the bond holders. So this amount we have not determined it yet. So we can determine it. So to determine the amount, we'll take the face value of the bond, which is 120,000 times the coupon rate or the interest rate, which is 8%. We look at our problem there. Remember that this amount is paid semi-annually and not annually. So again, we multiply this by 6 out of 12. So what will that give us? If you multiply 120,000 times 8% times 6 out of 12. Yes, said, what will that give us? Said, Dennis Kipkech, what will that give us? Margaret Chesa, 120,000 times 8 over 100 times 6 out of 12. What will that give us?
4,800.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. 4,800. So this is the amount that we expect to pay to the bondholders in cash after every 6 months. Now we can now represent this and prepare a schedule when the bond is issued at a premium. Remember, we said when the bond is issued at a discount, the amount will be the same. The amount to be paid to the bondholders will be the same throughout the lifetime of the bond. So I think we can prepare this schedule. So I can go to the next slide. So we'll have maybe the period there in the first column. Then in the second column, we'll have interest. In the third column, we'll have payments, what is paid. Then we have balance. Lastly, so we are just preparing a bond amortization schedule. Remember to take that. It is a bond amortization schedule. Because we are using the straight line method, you'll just indicate there, straight line method bond amortization schedule. And we are preparing this when the bond is issued at a premium. When the bond is issued at a premium. So remember, we are going to have 4 payments. we are going to have 4 payments for our bonds. So we start with, so we can include it here, the first column, the period. We start with period 0, 1, 2, 3, lastly. Now for period 0, at the start of maybe the first year, there will be no interest on the bond. There will also be no payment. But remember, we have received an amount of 122,204 from the investors. So the balance here will be 122,204. That is what we'll be having. Again, there will be no premium, or there will be no premium that will be paid. So that is period 0. It is very important because we will make use of this balance, and we must show the amount that we have received from a bond issue. Now, when it comes to now the year 1 now, when it comes to year 1, we need to get now the interest for year 1. We need to get the interest for year 1. So the interest for year 1 will obtain it. Let me maybe say that this is column A, for example. I want to show you that. This is column B, and then we have column C here. I hope you can see them. So talking about this, column C, column B, and column A. So initially, maybe I can show you, we had got the amount of the premium. We have amortized it for each of the 6 month period as 551. So that premium will be paid. It will be equal for the 4 periods. So if we go back now, under the premiums here, we'll have the same amount for the 4 periods. So we'll have 551 there, 551 there. And we have also determined the payment to be made. So again, I can go to the other slide. The period that will be made to investors as interest, we determined it as 4,800. Now again, that will also be the same. That will also be the same for the 4 periods that we'll have. So the payments here will also be 4,800. So the interest here, to get the interest here, we will now subtract C from B to get A. So 4,800 minus 551. So what will that give us? Keep catch. What will that give us if we subtract 551 from 4,800?
4,249.
Okay, thank you. 4,249 as our interest. I hope all of us have seen how we got that. So we have just subtracted the premium for that year one from the payment to get the interest, which is 4,249. Now we move to now the balance. Now the balance here will obtain it by subtracting the premium from the balance for year one will be, we subtract the premium from the balance of year zero. So remember year zero, we had 122,204. That's why I told you it is very important to indicate it there so that we don't make mistakes. So subtract 551 from 122,204. 122,204 minus 551. That will be 121,653. Thank you, Kipkate. 121,653. Okay, so that is okay. Silas, thank you. Now we can now go to year two. Thank you, Benjamin Malala. Year two, again, the payment will be payment for year two will be the same. So now for year 2, 3, and 4, column A, column B, and column C will be the same. What will be changing is the balance, the column where we have the balance. So here the payment is still 4,800, and the premium will still be 551, 551, and the interest is 4,249. So what will change is this, the balance there. So you subtract 551 from 121, 653. Somebody can subtract that. Then year 3, again, move to this. Let us subtract it. Okay, I'm told it is 121, 102. Thank you, Hassan, Dennis, Benjamin, Margaret, and William. So that is 121, 102. Okay, thank you. Then this will still be okay. This is 9 there. It's 4,800. This is 5,1. So again, we subtract this from this, get that, and here we'll have 42. Thank you, Prudence, Hassan, Margaret, 120, 551. William, thank you. Silas, 125, 551. So this again, 249. Then we have 4,551. Again, subtract this from that. That give us okay 120,000. That 120,000, that was the face value of the bond, the face value of the bond. Now I want us to get the total here for the interest, the total payments, and the total premiums. We add, so somebody to add column A, somebody to add column B, and someone to add column C. Okay, thank you, William, Silas, and Ian. So column A in 996, 996. Margaret, column C, 22. This is 22, and that is what we determine, 204. Then we have Dennis, column B, 19, 1. Okay, thank you. Now that is how we can prepare the bond amortization schedule. That is how we can prepare the bond amortization schedule. And you will note that the table starts with the book value of the bond, which is the par value, plus the premium on the bond, the 2,204. That is what equals to 122,204. So it starts with the book value plus the premium on the bond. Then for each period, we will have the interest expense of 49. You have seen how we have arrived at that. And that is the interest that is paid to the bondholders based on the par value of the bond at the bond rate of 4,800 less the premium amortized, which is 551. So please note how we have arrived at this. So any question? Any question on the straight line method of amortizing the bonds? Any question? So if there is no question, I would want us to stop for the live class. And then we move to